Dear Aries, July arrives with a powerful shift in your emotional world, bringing an entirely different atmosphere from the one you've been living in over the past several months. Whether you've been healing from a heartbreak, questioning someone's intentions, or simply wondering when love would finally begin flowing naturally again, this month feels like the universe has decided it's finally time to answer those silent questions you've carried in your heart. You may notice from the very first days of July that your emotions become calmer. The pressure to force things disappears, and instead of chasing answers, you begin allowing life to unfold naturally. That change in your mindset becomes one of the biggest reasons love starts moving toward you instead of away from you. For a long time, you've been stronger than people realize. You've smiled while hiding disappointment. You've acted confident even during moments when your heart quietly wondered why relationships never seemed to develop the way you hoped. But July isn't interested in repeating old stories. This month wants to introduce you to a completely different emotional experience. One built on trust instead of uncertainty, peace instead of confusion, and genuine affection instead of temporary excitement. One of the first things you'll notice is that your standards begin changing. The people who once attracted your attention may no longer feel interesting. Conversations that once seemed exciting suddenly feel empty. Instead of looking for intensity, you'll begin looking for consistency. Instead of wanting someone who constantly surprises you, you'll start appreciating someone who simply shows up, keeps their promises, and makes you feel emotionally safe. This isn't because you've become less passionate. Quite the opposite. You've simply matured enough to recognize that real love isn't built through emotional chaos. It's built through stability. As July continues, many Aries will experience unexpected encounters that feel strangely familiar. You could meet someone through work, while traveling, during a social gathering, through mutual friends, or even during an ordinary day when you weren't thinking about love at all. That's exactly how the universe often works. It brings the right people into your life the moment you stop desperately searching for them. There will be something different about this person. Rather than overwhelming you with dramatic declarations or unrealistic promises, they'll make you feel comfortable. Conversation will flow naturally. Silence won't feel awkward. You'll laugh without forcing it. Hours may pass without either of you realizing how much time has gone by. The connection won't feel rushed. It will feel peaceful, and that peace is one of the strongest signs that something meaningful could be developing. If you're already in a relationship, July offers an opportunity to strengthen the bond you've been building together. Over recent months, both of you may have become distracted by responsibilities, work, family obligations, or everyday stress. Love was never lost, but perhaps it became hidden beneath daily routines. This month gently reminds both of you why you chose each other in the first place. Small moments become incredibly meaningful. Cooking together, taking evening walks, laughing about old memories, planning future adventures, or simply sitting together without needing constant conversation may suddenly become the highlights of your relationship. You'll begin realizing that emotional intimacy grows strongest during life's simplest moments. There may also be conversations that you've both quietly avoided. Topics about the future, long-term commitment, living together, marriage, children, or shared dreams may naturally come into focus. Instead of creating fear, these conversations create security. Both of you begin understanding that your relationship isn't simply about today anymore. It's about building something capable of lasting for years. If disagreements have existed recently, July provides beautiful healing energy. Pride slowly disappears, and understanding replaces defensiveness. You'll notice that listening becomes more important than winning arguments. That shift alone could completely transform your relationship. For Aries who recently experienced heartbreak, this month becomes deeply emotional in the best possible way. At first, you may find yourself remembering someone from your past. Old memories could unexpectedly return. Certain songs, places, or conversations may remind you of moments you thought you had already left behind. Don't be afraid of these memories. They aren't returning to reopen old wounds. They're returning because your heart is finally strong enough to let them go. You'll realize something beautiful. You no longer miss the pain. You simply appreciate the lessons. Without those difficult experiences, you wouldn't have become the person you are today. Every disappointment taught you what you truly deserve. Every ending quietly redirected you toward something better. Around the middle of the month, your confidence begins attracting attention without you even trying. People notice your energy. Your smile becomes brighter. Your conversations become more genuine because you're no longer trying to impress anyone. Ironically, the moment you stop seeking validation is often the moment you become most attractive. Someone may begin showing obvious interest in you. They might consistently find reasons to talk to you, remember small details about your life, or quietly support your goals without expecting anything in return. Watch people's actions more than their words this month. Genuine love reveals itself through consistency rather than promises. July also encourages you to stop comparing your love story with anyone else's. Social media, other couples, or even family expectations may sometimes create unnecessary pressure. You may wonder whether you're behind in life or whether everyone else has figured love out except you. The universe reminds you that every heart follows its own timeline. Some people meet their soulmate early. Others meet them later. Neither path is better. Your story is unfolding exactly the way it's meant to. Trust that timing. The love meant for you will never require you to become someone you're not. If someone from your past reaches out during July, think carefully before reopening old chapters. Ask yourself one honest question. Has anything truly changed? Sometimes people return because they've grown. Other times they return simply because they're lonely. Your intuition becomes incredibly accurate this month, and it will quickly reveal the difference. Don't allow nostalgia to make decisions that wisdom should make instead. The future you're creating deserves your full attention. Family may unexpectedly influence your romantic life during July. Someone close to you could offer valuable advice, introduce you to someone interesting, or simply help you see your situation from a different perspective. Listen with an open heart, but remember that your final decision always belongs to you. After all, you're the one who has to live your love story, not anyone else. Toward the final weeks of July, your emotional world becomes even more peaceful. You'll notice that you're no longer overthinking every message, every delay, or every conversation. Anxiety begins disappearing because your confidence is finally growing from within rather than depending on someone else's attention. That emotional independence changes everything. Ironically, it's often when you stop fearing loneliness that you're finally ready for genuine partnership. One of the most important lessons July teaches you is that love should never feel like constant uncertainty. If someone truly values you, you won't have to question where you stand every single day. You won't have to beg for attention. You won't have to compete with anyone else. Real love creates clarity, creates security. It gives you the freedom to become even more yourself rather than asking you to become someone different. As the month comes to an end, you'll probably look back and realize just how much has changed inside your heart. Even if you haven't officially entered a new relationship yet, something much more important has already happened. You've changed. You've stopped accepting less than you deserve. You've stopped confusing emotional intensity with emotional compatibility. You've begun believing that healthy love isn't boring. It feels peaceful. That realization becomes one of the greatest gifts July could possibly offer. Remember that the universe has never forgotten the dreams you've whispered in silence. Every night you hoped for someone who would truly understand you. Every moment you wondered whether lasting love still existed. Every prayer you quietly carried inside your heart has been heard. Sometimes life delays beautiful things, not because they aren't meant for you, but because they're worth waiting for. Walk into the rest of July with confidence instead of fear. Smile without wondering who approves of it. Love yourself without apology. Continue becoming the incredible person you've worked so hard to become. The right relationship will never interrupt your growth. It will encourage it. It will celebrate your victories, comfort your difficult days, and remind you that home isn't always a place. Sometimes, home is simply the person who makes your heart feel completely at peace. July isn't asking you to chase love. It's asking you to become ready to receive it. And judging by everything you've survived, everything you've learned, and everything you've overcome, your heart is finally prepared for the kind of love that stays. Dear Taurus, July arrives like a warm summer breeze that slowly melts away the emotional walls you've been building around your heart. Over the past several months, you've spent a great deal of time protecting yourself from disappointment. You may have convinced yourself that being careful was the safest choice, and perhaps it was. Your heart has never been careless with love. When you choose someone, you choose them with complete loyalty, honesty, and devotion. That is one of your greatest strengths, but it also means that every emotional wound takes longer to heal. The beautiful news is that July is not another month of healing from the past. It is the month where your heart begins looking toward the future again. You may not notice the change immediately, but somewhere deep inside, hope quietly returns. It doesn't arrive loudly. It doesn't demand your attention. Instead, it gently reminds you that love still has beautiful surprises waiting for you. During the first days of July, you'll notice yourself thinking differently about relationships. The people who once occupied your thoughts no longer have the same emotional power over you. Memories that once brought sadness begin feeling like distant chapters instead of present realities. You finally understand that not every relationship was meant to last forever. Some people entered your life simply to teach you lessons about your own worth. At first, those lessons may have felt painful, but now you begin seeing the hidden gift behind every disappointment. Without those experiences, you might never have learned how valuable your heart truly is. That realization changes everything because it allows you to approach love from a place of confidence instead of fear. There is something incredibly magnetic about your energy throughout July. You may not be the loudest person in the room, but people are naturally drawn toward your calm presence. They feel safe around you. They feel understood. Your kindness becomes impossible to ignore, and someone may begin paying much closer attention to you than you realize. This person won't necessarily announce their feelings immediately. Instead, they'll slowly become part of your daily life. They'll remember small details about conversations. They'll ask how your day was. They'll notice when something feels different about your mood. Unlike relationships that begin with overwhelming excitement and disappear just as quickly, this connection develops slowly, and that slow beginning is exactly what gives it the potential to become something meaningful. If you're currently single, July encourages you to stop believing that love only arrives through dramatic moments. Your next relationship may begin during an ordinary afternoon, a casual conversation, or an unexpected introduction from someone you already know. There won't necessarily be fireworks at first. Instead, you'll experience something even more valuable: comfort. You'll feel as though you've known this person much longer than you actually have. Conversations will become effortless. Silence won't feel uncomfortable. You'll begin looking forward to hearing from them without realizing how naturally they've entered your thoughts. For someone like you, who values stability more than temporary excitement, this kind of emotional connection has the potential to become exactly what you've been searching for all along. If you're already sharing your life with someone, July becomes a month of emotional strengthening. Daily responsibilities may have created small distances between you recently. Perhaps work became demanding. Family obligations demanded more attention than expected. Maybe both of you simply became so focused on solving life's practical challenges that romance quietly moved into the background. This month gently reminds you that love isn't maintained through grand gestures alone. It grows stronger through everyday moments. Sharing breakfast together, watching a movie while holding hands, taking an evening walk, laughing about something completely unimportant. Those simple experiences slowly rebuild emotional intimacy until you both begin feeling closer than you have in quite some time. There may also be conversations about your future together. Unlike previous months, these discussions won't create anxiety. Instead, they'll create excitement. You may begin talking about traveling together, buying a home, marriage, building a family, or creating long-term goals that make both of you feel secure. The beautiful thing about July is that it replaces uncertainty with clarity. Rather than wondering where the relationship is heading, you'll begin seeing a future that feels stable enough to build together. Of course, not every Taurus enters July with complete emotional confidence. Some of you are still quietly carrying heartbreak. You may have spent months pretending everything was fine while secretly wondering whether anyone would ever love you the way you deserve to be loved. If those thoughts still visit your mind from time to time, July brings exactly the medicine your heart has been waiting for. You'll begin realizing that your greatest mistake wasn't loving someone too deeply. Your only mistake was sometimes forgetting to love yourself with the same devotion you offered everyone else. This month gently guides you back toward yourself. You begin appreciating your own qualities again. Your patience, your loyalty, your generosity, your ability to create safety for the people you care about. These qualities aren't weaknesses. They're the exact reasons someone extraordinary will eventually recognize your value. As the middle of July approaches, romantic energy becomes noticeably stronger. Invitations become more frequent. Friends may encourage you to attend gatherings you normally would have declined. Family celebrations, weekend trips, community events, or even unexpected changes in your routine could place you exactly where you're meant to be. Don't underestimate chance encounters this month. Sometimes the universe hides life-changing moments inside completely ordinary days. One conversation may lead to another. One smile may become a friendship. One friendship may slowly become the love story you've been waiting to experience. Trust becomes one of the most important themes throughout July. You've always believed actions speak louder than words, and this month proves that belief once again. Rather than paying attention to promises, you'll naturally begin noticing consistency. Who makes time for you? Who supports your dreams without feeling threatened by them? Who remembers important details about your life? Who celebrates your happiness instead of competing with it? Those answers become much more important than beautiful speeches. Real love isn't performed. It's demonstrated every single day through simple acts of care. Someone from your past may briefly reappear during July, either through a message, a social media interaction, or an unexpected meeting. Before allowing old emotions to return, pause for a moment and ask yourself an honest question. Has this person truly changed? Or are they simply returning because they miss the comfort you once provided? Your heart deserves honesty now more than ever. Don't reopen a chapter simply because it feels familiar. Familiarity isn't always destiny. Sometimes the greatest act of self-love is choosing not to repeat a story you've already outgrown. As the month moves toward its final weeks, you'll notice an incredible sense of emotional peace settling over your life. The fear of ending up alone begins disappearing. Instead of chasing love, you begin attracting it naturally because you've stopped believing that your happiness depends entirely on another person. Ironically, that's exactly when healthy relationships usually begin. People are drawn toward individuals who already feel complete within themselves. Your confidence becomes quieter but much stronger. You stop seeking constant reassurance because deep inside, you finally believe that you're worthy of receiving the kind of love you've always dreamed about. By the end of July, your heart feels lighter than it has in a very long time. Whether you've started a promising new relationship, strengthened an existing one, or simply rediscovered your own emotional confidence, something important has changed. You've stopped settling for uncertainty. You've stopped accepting less than you deserve. Most importantly, you've stopped believing that love must always involve struggle. Real love doesn't leave you questioning your value. It reminds you of it every single day. As this beautiful month comes to a close, remember that your greatest strength has never been your ability to hold on. It has always been your ability to remain loving even after life tested your heart. That strength hasn't gone unnoticed. The universe has been quietly preparing experiences that match the incredible loyalty and kindness you've continued sharing with the world. Continue believing in your future. Continue believing in genuine connection. Continue believing that someone is searching for the same kind of peaceful, lasting love you've always wanted to give. July is only the beginning. Your heart is opening once again, and this time, it is opening for something that has the potential to remain in your life far longer than you ever imagined. Dear Gemini, July arrives with an energy that feels lighter, warmer, and far more hopeful than anything you've experienced over the last several months. If you felt as though your heart has been caught between the past and the future, this month gently helps you release everything that no longer deserves your emotional energy. You are naturally curious, expressive, and open to meeting new people, but recently you may have found yourself becoming more cautious than usual. Certain disappointments may have made you question whether people truly meant what they said, or whether genuine love was becoming increasingly difficult to find. The beautiful thing about July is that it slowly restores your faith, not through unrealistic promises, but through real experiences that remind you that honest connections still exist. This month teaches you that the right person will never leave you guessing. Instead of confusion, they will bring clarity. Instead of emotional games, they will offer consistency. And instead of making you wonder where you stand, they'll make you feel appreciated simply for being yourself. As the month begins, your social life naturally becomes more active. Invitations appear more frequently, conversations become more interesting, and you'll notice yourself smiling much more often than you have in recent weeks. Even if you've been spending a great deal of time focusing on work or personal responsibilities, July encourages you to reconnect with the outside world. Every conversation carries potential. Every new person you meet could play a meaningful role in your future. Love doesn't always announce itself dramatically. Sometimes it begins with laughter over coffee, a casual conversation after work, or an unexpected message from someone who simply enjoys talking with you. Keep your heart open because this month thrives on unexpected beginnings. If you're single, July could become one of the most memorable romantic periods you've experienced in a long time. Someone may enter your life in a way that feels completely natural. There won't be pressure or unrealistic expectations. Instead, you'll notice how easily the two of you understand one another. Conversations may continue for hours without either of you running out of things to discuss. You'll discover shared interests, similar dreams, and a surprising emotional comfort that makes the connection feel effortless. For someone like you, whose mind constantly seeks stimulation, finding someone who keeps both your heart and your curiosity engaged is incredibly important. This month suggests that exactly this kind of person may be much closer than you realize. You may also find yourself unexpectedly attracting attention from more than one person. Gemini energy naturally draws people in because of your intelligence, humor, and ability to make others feel comfortable. However, July encourages you not to rush into choosing simply because someone shows interest. Pay attention to character rather than excitement. Some people know how to create chemistry but cannot create commitment. Others may seem quieter at first, yet possess exactly the emotional stability you've secretly been hoping to find. This month reminds you that lasting love grows through trust, patience, and mutual respect rather than constant emotional highs. If you're already in a relationship, July becomes a month of rediscovery. You and your partner may begin remembering why you fell in love in the first place. Life has likely kept both of you busy, leaving less time for meaningful conversations and shared experiences. This month gently changes that. You'll naturally begin making more time for one another, whether it's through spontaneous dates, weekend trips, or simply spending quiet evenings talking about your dreams instead of your responsibilities. You'll notice that the strongest moments aren't necessarily the most exciting ones. They're the moments where both of you feel completely accepted without needing to pretend or impress one another. Communication becomes your greatest strength throughout July. If misunderstandings have existed recently, you'll finally find the right words to express what you've been feeling. More importantly, you'll become a better listener. Sometimes your quick mind races ahead before fully hearing the other person's perspective. This month teaches you that understanding often begins with silence. Giving someone the space to explain themselves without interruption could completely transform your relationship. You'll discover that many disagreements weren't caused by a lack of love at all. They were simply caused by assumptions that neither of you intended to create. For those carrying emotional pain from a previous relationship, July offers remarkable healing. You may think about someone from your past more often than usual during the early part of the month. Certain memories could return unexpectedly, reminding you of promises that were never fulfilled or dreams that never became reality. Don't fear these memories. They aren't appearing because you're meant to go backward. They're appearing because your heart is finally ready to release them completely. You'll begin realizing that some people were never meant to stay forever. They entered your life to help shape the person you've become today. Without those experiences, you wouldn't have developed the emotional wisdom you now carry into every new relationship. Around the middle of July, something shifts inside you. Instead of wondering why certain people left your life, you begin appreciating the empty space they've created for someone better to enter. This emotional shift is incredibly powerful because it removes the fear that has quietly influenced your romantic decisions. You stop chasing unavailable people. You stop accepting mixed signals. You stop believing that inconsistency is exciting. Instead, you begin recognizing that true love feels peaceful. It doesn't require endless guessing or emotional exhaustion. It simply grows, day by day, through trust and shared happiness. Someone from your past may attempt to reconnect during this month. Before responding emotionally, allow yourself to think carefully. Ask yourself whether this person truly appreciates who you've become or whether they're simply returning because they miss the comfort you once provided. July encourages you to protect the emotional progress you've worked so hard to achieve. Your heart deserves someone who chooses you consistently, not only when it's convenient. As July continues, you'll notice your confidence increasing naturally. This isn't the loud confidence that seeks attention. It's a quieter confidence built on self-respect. You begin understanding that your value doesn't depend on someone else's opinion. That realization makes you incredibly attractive because people are naturally drawn toward those who genuinely enjoy their own company. Without realizing it, you become the kind of person who inspires others simply by being authentic. The final days of July carry particularly beautiful romantic energy. If you're beginning a new relationship, you'll likely feel that things are moving at exactly the right pace. There won't be unnecessary drama or confusion. Instead, every conversation brings greater understanding. Every meeting strengthens your connection. Every shared experience creates another reason to believe that something meaningful is developing. If you're already committed to someone, the end of the month brings renewed excitement and emotional closeness. Future plans become easier to discuss, and both of you begin feeling increasingly optimistic about where your relationship is heading. Throughout this entire month, one important lesson repeats itself over and over again. Love should never require you to become someone else. The right person won't ask you to silence your personality, hide your dreams, or change the qualities that make you unique. They'll admire your curiosity, appreciate your intelligence, laugh at your jokes, support your ambitions, and encourage your personal growth. That's the kind of connection the universe wants to guide you toward. As July comes to an end, you'll likely realize that the greatest transformation didn't happen in someone else's heart. It happened in yours. You've become more patient, more emotionally aware, and far less willing to settle for relationships that leave you feeling uncertain. You've remembered that love isn't about finding someone perfect. It's about finding someone who consistently makes your life brighter simply by being part of it. The universe has been preparing your heart for this chapter for much longer than you realize. Every delay, every disappointment, every goodbye has quietly guided you towards something far healthier than what you once believed you wanted. Continue trusting your instincts. Continue believing that honest love still exists. Continue choosing yourself first, because the moment you fully value your own heart is often the moment someone else recognizes just how extraordinary it truly is. July is opening a new romantic chapter for you, Gemini, And this time the story feels calmer, wiser, deeper, and far more beautiful than anything you've experienced before. Dear Cancer, July arrives carrying exactly the kind of emotional energy your heart has been waiting for. Over the past several months, you've experienced moments where you questioned whether love was truly moving in your direction or whether life was asking you to spend more time healing before opening your heart again. As one of the most emotional and intuitive signs of the Zodiac, you rarely love halfway. When someone becomes important to you, they become part of your world, your future, and your dreams. That beautiful quality makes your love incredibly rare, but it also means that disappointment reaches your heart more deeply than most people ever realize. The universe understands that, and throughout July it begins replacing uncertainty with reassurance, loneliness with meaningful connection, and emotional exhaustion with quiet hope. From the very beginning of the month, you'll notice yourself becoming more emotionally balanced. Situations that once kept you awake at night suddenly lose their power over you. Instead of wondering why certain relationships didn't work out, you begin appreciating the lessons they left behind. Every goodbye has made your heart wiser. Every disappointment has taught you what genuine love should actually feel like. Without realizing it, you've stopped chasing people who only give you temporary attention and started longing for someone who brings lasting peace. That emotional maturity becomes one of your greatest strengths this month because it naturally attracts people who are searching for exactly the same thing. If you've spent recent months protecting your heart, July gently encourages you to lower those walls again. Not because everyone deserves your trust, but because the right person deserves the opportunity to earn it. You'll begin noticing that your intuition becomes stronger than ever. You'll instinctively recognize who brings calm into your life and who brings unnecessary confusion. Trust those feelings. Your heart has always known the truth before your mind was ready to accept it. For those who are single, July carries the promise of beautiful new beginnings. Love may appear through circumstances you never expected. It could begin during a family gathering, while traveling, through mutual friends, at work, or even through a casual conversation that initially seems completely ordinary. What makes this connection different is the feeling it creates inside you. Instead of butterflies mixed with anxiety, you'll experience comfort. Instead of constantly wondering whether the other person likes you, you'll naturally feel appreciated. Conversations will flow without effort. You'll discover shared values, similar dreams, and a mutual desire to build something real instead of something temporary. That sense of emotional safety becomes far more attractive than dramatic romance ever could. The person entering your life may not immediately express everything they feel. They could be slightly reserved at first, taking time to build trust before revealing their emotions completely. Be patient. Just as your heart doesn't open overnight, neither does theirs. Some of the strongest relationships begin slowly because both people understand that something truly valuable should never be rushed. Allow this connection to grow naturally. Don't worry about defining everything immediately. Simply enjoy discovering one another without unnecessary pressure. If you're already sharing your life with someone, July becomes one of the most emotionally rewarding months of the year. Any emotional distance that may have quietly developed over recent months begins disappearing. Both of you start making more time for meaningful conversations instead of discussing only daily responsibilities. You'll laugh more. You'll dream together again. You'll remember why your relationship became so important in the first place. Small gestures suddenly carry enormous meaning. A warm embrace after a long day, an unexpected compliment, a thoughtful message during work, or simply sitting together in comfortable silence may become the moments you treasure most. There is also a strong possibility that important conversations about the future will naturally arise. Marriage, moving in together, expanding your family, planning future adventures, or building long-term goals together may become recurring topics. Rather than creating anxiety, these discussions fill your heart with excitement because, for the first time in a while, the future feels stable instead of uncertain. Your relationship begins feeling less like a question and more like a shared journey. Of course, Not every Cancer enters July with complete emotional confidence. Some of you are still quietly healing from heartbreak. You've tried convincing yourself that you're over everything, yet certain memories still find their way back into your thoughts. During this month, those memories may briefly return one final time. A familiar place, an old photograph, a song, or an unexpected message may remind you of someone who once meant everything to you. Don't be afraid when those emotions appear. They aren't returning to hurt you again. They're returning because your heart is finally strong enough to let them go completely. You'll realize that the love you once gave wasn't wasted. It simply helped shape the incredible person you've become today. As July reaches its middle weeks, your emotional confidence begins growing naturally. Instead of seeking reassurance from other people, you begin trusting yourself. You no longer feel the need to chase someone who gives mixed signals. You stop making excuses for inconsistent behavior. You recognize that genuine love doesn't create endless confusion. It creates emotional safety. That realization completely changes the way you approach relationships. People who once seemed attractive because they were unpredictable suddenly lose their appeal. Instead, you're drawn toward kindness, honesty, loyalty, and emotional maturity. Someone may unexpectedly confess feelings they've quietly carried for some time. This revelation could surprise you because you never realized how closely they had been paying attention. Don't immediately dismiss the possibility simply because it arrives unexpectedly. Sometimes the people who love us most deeply are the ones who patiently wait until the timing feels right. Allow yourself to explore new possibilities without comparing them to your past experiences. Family also plays an important role in your emotional life throughout July. Loved ones may offer advice, encouragement, or simply remind you how deserving you are of happiness. Their support helps strengthen your confidence and reminds you that healthy relationships are built on love, respect, and mutual understanding rather than emotional struggle. If your partner becomes more involved with your family during this month, you'll likely notice relationships becoming warmer and more harmonious than before. Toward the final weeks of July, something beautiful begins happening inside your heart. The fear of being hurt again slowly disappears. Not because you've forgotten the past, but because you've finally accepted that your future doesn't have to repeat it. You begin allowing yourself to dream again. You imagine what life might look like beside someone who truly appreciates every part of who you are. Those dreams no longer feel impossible. Instead, they begin feeling surprisingly close. If you're beginning a new relationship, the final days of the month bring growing trust and emotional intimacy. Every conversation deepens your connection. Every shared experience makes you feel increasingly secure. You'll notice that this relationship doesn't drain your energy. It restores it. That's one of the clearest signs that you're moving in the right direction. Healthy love should leave you feeling stronger, calmer, and more hopeful than before. If you've been with someone for a long time, July closes with renewed commitment. Both of you begin recognizing how much you've overcome together and how much stronger your relationship has become because of those challenges. Rather than focusing on old misunderstandings, you'll begin looking toward the future with excitement. New plans, shared goals, and meaningful dreams replace old fears. As this beautiful month comes to an end, you'll realize that the greatest transformation wasn't necessarily meeting someone new or fixing an existing relationship. The greatest transformation happened inside you. You've remembered that your gentle heart is not a weakness. It's one of your greatest gifts. Your ability to love deeply, care sincerely, and remain loyal even after disappointment is incredibly rare. The right person won't see those qualities as something to take advantage of. They'll see them as the greatest treasure they've ever found. The universe has never forgotten the love you've dreamed about. Every tear you've cried, every prayer you've whispered, every lonely evening you've quietly endured has been leading you towards something much healthier than you could previously imagine. Continue trusting your intuition. Continue protecting your peace. Continue believing that genuine love still exists because it does. And this July, Cancer, Your heart begins walking toward a future where love no longer feels uncertain, feels safe, feels honest, feels like home. Dear Leo, July arrives with an energy that feels as though the universe has quietly decided it's time for your heart to shine again. For far too long, you've carried emotions that you rarely allowed anyone else to see. People often assume that you're confident all the time, that nothing can truly hurt you, and that you always know exactly what you're doing when it comes to love. The truth, however, is much different. Beneath your courage and natural confidence is a heart that longs to be loved deeply, honestly, and completely. You don't simply want attention. You want loyalty. You don't simply want romance. You want someone who chooses you every single day without making you question your place in their life. July begins bringing exactly that lesson into focus. The beginning of the month feels like a quiet awakening. Instead of chasing affection or wondering why someone isn't giving you the attention you deserve, you begin focusing on yourself. That change may seem small, but it completely transforms your emotional energy. You start waking up with more confidence. You smile more often. You become more comfortable with who you are instead of trying to become the version of yourself you think someone else might prefer. Ironically, this is exactly what makes you irresistible. The more authentic you become, the more naturally people are drawn toward you. If you've recently experienced disappointment in love, July slowly helps your heart recover. You may think about someone who once meant everything to you. Their memory may return unexpectedly through a song, an old photograph, or a familiar place. But instead of feeling pain, you'll notice something different. You'll begin understanding why that chapter had to end. Not every relationship was meant to become your forever story. Some people were simply meant to teach you valuable lessons about self-worth, boundaries, and emotional strength. Once you truly accept that, your heart becomes lighter than it has been in months. For those who are single, July carries exciting romantic possibilities. The universe places you in situations where meaningful connections can naturally develop. You may meet someone during a social event, while traveling, through work, through mutual friends, or even during an ordinary day when love isn't on your mind at all. What immediately captures your attention about this person isn't simply their appearance. It's the way they make you feel. Around them, you don't feel pressured to perform or constantly impress. You feel accepted. You laugh easily. Conversation flows without effort. And you'll notice that hours seem to disappear whenever the two of you are together. Unlike relationships you've experienced before, this connection develops steadily rather than dramatically. At first, you may even question whether something so calm could truly become something meaningful. The answer is yes. July teaches you that genuine love doesn't always begin with fireworks. Sometimes it begins with trust. Sometimes it begins with friendship. Sometimes it begins with two people simply enjoying each other's company without unnecessary emotional games. Allow yourself to appreciate that slower rhythm because it creates a much stronger foundation for the future. If you're already in a relationship, July becomes one of the most beautiful months you've shared together in quite some time. Recent responsibilities may have distracted both of you from nurturing your emotional connection. Daily routines, work commitments, and family obligations may have quietly replaced romance without either of you realizing it. This month changes that completely. You'll naturally begin creating more opportunities to spend quality time together. It doesn't have to involve expensive trips or elaborate surprises. Even simple evenings together become incredibly meaningful. You'll rediscover how much joy exists in small moments that remind both of you why your relationship became so special in the first place. Communication improves dramatically throughout July. If misunderstandings have created distance recently, honest conversations finally begin clearing away old confusion. You'll notice that both of you become more willing to listen instead of simply trying to be understood. This emotional maturity strengthens your relationship in ways that neither of you expected. Long-term plans become easier to discuss, and the future begins feeling exciting rather than uncertain. Some couples may even begin talking seriously about marriage, moving in together, or taking another important step forward. Your generous heart also becomes more visible this month. Leo naturally enjoys making the people they love feel important, but sometimes you forget that you deserve exactly the same treatment in return. July reminds you that healthy relationships involve balance. Giving is beautiful, but receiving love with an open heart is equally important. Don't automatically assume you must always be the strong one. Allow someone to support you emotionally. Allow them to care for you. Love becomes much deeper when both people feel safe enough to be vulnerable. There is also a strong possibility that someone has quietly admired you for much longer than you realize. They may finally gather the courage to express their feelings during July. This confession could surprise you because you've been so focused on your own journey that you never noticed how closely they were paying attention. Before making any quick decisions, allow yourself to explore the connection naturally. Sometimes the greatest love stories begin with people who patiently waited until the timing was finally right. Around the middle of the month, your confidence becomes one of your greatest strengths. You'll notice that you're no longer willing to accept inconsistent behavior or mixed signals. If someone truly values you, they'll make the effort to be present in your life. They'll communicate honestly. They'll show interest through their actions rather than empty promises. This realization protects your heart from unnecessary disappointment because you finally understand that real love should never leave you constantly questioning where you stand. If someone from your past unexpectedly returns, don't allow nostalgia to make decisions your future may regret. Ask yourself whether that relationship truly brought you peace or whether you've simply become attached to the memories. July encourages you to move forward rather than reopening emotional chapters that have already taught you everything they needed to teach. Your future deserves your attention far more than your past does. As the final weeks of July arrive, romance becomes increasingly joyful. If you're beginning a new relationship, you'll notice your trust growing naturally with every conversation. If you're already committed, your relationship enters a more secure and emotionally satisfying phase. Both of you begin feeling more appreciated, more understood, and more excited about everything the future could bring. This renewed emotional closeness strengthens not only your romantic connection but also your friendship, which becomes the true foundation of lasting love. One of the greatest lessons this month offers you is the understanding that love should never require constant effort just to feel secure. The right person won't make you compete for their attention or leave you wondering whether you matter. They'll show you every single day through consistency, kindness, respect, and genuine affection. Once you experience that kind of love, you'll wonder why you ever accepted anything less. As July comes to an end, you'll realize that your heart has changed in remarkable ways. You're no longer searching for someone simply because you fear being alone. Instead, you're waiting for someone who genuinely adds happiness to a life you've already begun enjoying on your own. That emotional independence becomes incredibly attractive because it allows you to choose relationships out of love rather than need. The universe has been preparing this chapter for much longer than you realize. Every challenge you've faced, every disappointment you've overcome, and every lesson you've learned has quietly guided you toward a healthier understanding of what love truly means. Continue believing in your worth. Continue protecting your peace. Continue refusing to settle for relationships that ask you to become smaller just to make someone else comfortable. Because Leo, your heart was never meant to settle for ordinary love. It was always meant to experience a connection that celebrates your light instead of trying to dim it. July opens the door to exactly that possibility. Walk through it with confidence, with hope, and with the certainty that the love you've been waiting for is becoming closer with every passing day. Dear Virgo, July arrives with a gentle but undeniable shift in your emotional world, bringing a sense of clarity that you've been searching for over the past several months. You are someone who rarely falls in love without thinking carefully. Your heart doesn't open easily, and when it finally does, it opens completely. You don't believe in temporary affection or empty promises. You believe in loyalty, consistency, honesty, and building a future together one step at a time. Unfortunately, Not everyone you've met has understood the depth of your heart. Some people appreciated what you gave but never truly recognized your value until it was too late. July marks the beginning of a completely different chapter. One where you stop questioning whether you're enough and start realizing that the right person will never make you doubt your worth. As the month begins, you may notice that your emotions feel calmer than they have in a long time. Situations that once caused you anxiety no longer seem as important. The person who occupied your thoughts every day slowly begins losing their influence over your heart. This isn't because you've forgotten them. It's because you've finally accepted that your future cannot be built around someone who wasn't willing to build it with you. That realization doesn't make you bitter. Instead, it makes you stronger. You begin understanding that protecting your peace is far more important than chasing someone who only gives you uncertainty. If you're single, July carries beautiful possibilities that develop slowly but naturally. This isn't the kind of month where love appears dramatically overnight. Instead, it enters your life quietly, almost without you realizing it at first. Someone may begin showing interest through consistent actions rather than impressive words. They may find reasons to spend time with you, ask thoughtful questions about your life, remember details from previous conversations, and genuinely care about your happiness. At first, you might assume they're simply being friendly because that's how cautious your heart has become. But as the weeks pass, you'll realize there's something much deeper growing beneath these ordinary moments. One of the reasons this connection feels so different is because it doesn't create emotional confusion. Instead of wondering whether they like you, you'll naturally feel secure. Instead of constantly checking your phone hoping for a message, communication will become effortless. Instead of questioning their intentions, you'll notice that their actions consistently match their words. That sense of emotional stability becomes incredibly attractive because deep down, it's exactly what you've always wanted. The universe also encourages you to stop overanalyzing every romantic situation. As a Virgo, your mind naturally looks for answers, explanations, and possible outcomes before your heart has even had time to enjoy the present moment. This month gently reminds you that not every beautiful experience needs to be completely understood before it's allowed to happen. Sometimes love simply asks you to trust the journey. Allow yourself to enjoy getting to know someone without trying to predict where every conversation will eventually lead. The strongest relationships often develop naturally when neither person feels pressured to control the future. If you're already in a relationship, July brings a wonderful opportunity to deepen your emotional connection. Daily routines may have quietly replaced romance over recent months. Responsibilities, work, family obligations, and practical concerns may have taken priority without either of you intending for that to happen. This month gently shifts your attention back toward each other. You'll begin creating more meaningful moments together. Long conversations replace short exchanges. Shared laughter returns. You'll find yourselves discussing dreams, future plans, and everything that first brought you together. It's almost as though you're falling in love with each other all over again, but this time with greater maturity and a much deeper understanding of who you both have become. There may also be important conversations about commitment. If you've been wondering where your relationship is heading, July begins providing reassuring answers. The future no longer feels uncertain. Instead, both of you begin naturally talking about long-term goals, building a home together, traveling, marriage, or simply creating a life where both of you continue growing side by side. These conversations don't create pressure. They create excitement because both of you begin recognizing how strong your relationship has become. For those still carrying pain from a previous relationship, July offers emotional healing unlike anything you've experienced recently. You may briefly revisit old memories, not because you're meant to return to the past, but because your heart is finally ready to leave it behind completely. You'll realize that you've spent too much time blaming yourself for things that were never entirely your responsibility. Love requires two people willing to choose each other. If someone walked away from what you were willing to build together, that decision says far more about where they were emotionally than it does about your value. This realization frees your heart in ways you never expected. Around the middle of July, someone may unexpectedly express feelings they've quietly been keeping to themselves. Their honesty may catch you by surprise because you never imagined they viewed you that way. Before dismissing the possibility simply because it arrives unexpectedly, give yourself permission to explore the connection. The universe often sends love through people who have been standing nearby all along rather than through dramatic new arrivals. Keep your heart open enough to notice who consistently brings peace into your life. Trust becomes one of your greatest themes throughout the month. You stop believing promises that aren't supported by action. You begin recognizing that genuine love isn't measured by beautiful speeches but by everyday consistency. Who checks on you when you have a difficult day? Who celebrates your success without jealousy? Who remembers what matters most to you? Those quiet acts of love become far more meaningful than grand romantic gestures. Your heart begins recognizing that true commitment is built through small moments repeated over time. If someone from your past attempts to reconnect during July, listen to your intuition before your emotions. Nostalgia has a way of making old memories appear more beautiful than they actually were. Ask yourself whether the relationship truly brought you peace or whether you've simply become attached to the hope that things might have been different. July encourages you to protect everything you've worked so hard to heal. You deserve a relationship that moves your life forward, not one that repeatedly pulls you back into old emotional patterns. As the final weeks of the month arrive, you'll notice something remarkable about yourself. You're no longer searching desperately for love because you've finally started creating happiness within your own life. That quiet confidence changes everything. People naturally feel drawn toward someone who genuinely enjoys who they are. Without realizing it, you become more attractive simply because you've stopped seeking validation from everyone else. If you're beginning a new relationship, the final days of July bring increasing emotional security. Every conversation strengthens your connection. Every shared experience deepens your trust. You'll feel increasingly certain that you're building something capable of lasting far beyond the excitement of the beginning. If you're already committed, this month closes with renewed appreciation for everything you've created together. Both of you recognize how much stronger your relationship has become because you've learned how to face life's challenges as a team instead of as individuals. As July comes to an end, you'll understand that love was never meant to feel complicated. The right relationship doesn't constantly test your patience or leave you questioning your value. Instead, it reminds you that you are loved exactly as you are. Your thoughtful nature, your loyalty, your kindness, your ability to care deeply about the people around you. These qualities are not things you need to hide or change. They're the exact reason someone will one day look at you and quietly realize they found everything they've been searching for. The universe has been preparing your heart for this chapter through every lesson you've learned and every challenge you've overcome. Continue believing that genuine love still exists. Continue choosing peace over confusion. Continue trusting that the right person will never ask you to become someone different just to deserve their affection. Because Virgo, the love that is finding its way toward you isn't arriving to teach another painful lesson. It's arriving to remind you what it feels like to finally be loved with the same honesty, loyalty, and devotion that you've always been willing to give. July is only the beginning of that beautiful story, and your heart is more ready than ever to receive it. Dear Libra, July arrives with a beautiful emotional energy that feels as though the universe has finally decided to restore the balance your heart has been searching for. Over the past several months, you may have found yourself questioning whether love should really be this complicated. You've spent countless moments trying to understand other people's emotions, making compromises, giving second chances, and hoping that patience would eventually create the relationship you dreamed about. But somewhere along the way, you may have forgotten something incredibly important. You deserve to feel chosen just as much as you choose others. This month gently reminds you that healthy love isn't something you have to fight for every single day. It should feel natural, peaceful, and safe. July becomes the month where your heart slowly begins believing that again. As the first days of the month unfold, You'll notice an unexpected sense of emotional calm settling into your life. Instead of worrying about who is texting you, who is thinking about you, or whether someone truly understands your feelings, your attention gradually shifts inward. You begin asking yourself a much more important question. What kind of love actually makes me happy? That simple question changes everything because, for the first time in a long while, you stop building your dreams around someone else's expectations and begin focusing on your own emotional needs. One of the greatest gifts July offers you is clarity. Situations that once confused you suddenly become incredibly obvious. You'll realize that certain people never intended to offer the consistency your heart needed. Others may have cared about you, but they simply weren't emotionally ready to build the future you imagined together. Instead of feeling disappointed, you'll experience something surprisingly freeing. Acceptance. Once you stop trying to force relationships that were never truly balanced, space opens in your life for something far more beautiful. If you're single, July becomes one of the strongest months of the year for meaningful romantic opportunities. The universe begins placing new people in your path, but unlike previous experiences, these encounters feel remarkably comfortable. There won't be endless emotional guessing games or exhausting uncertainty. Instead, you'll notice someone making steady, genuine efforts to become part of your life. They may reach out consistently, remember details you've shared weeks earlier, ask thoughtful questions, and show real curiosity about who you are beneath the surface. You'll feel seen rather than simply admired, and that emotional connection quickly becomes more attractive than appearances alone. There's also a strong possibility that love arrives through unexpected circumstances. Perhaps someone you've known casually for a long time suddenly begins seeing you differently. Maybe a friendship quietly develops into something deeper without either of you planning it. Or perhaps an ordinary conversation during work, travel, or a social gathering unexpectedly creates a connection that neither of you can ignore. July reminds you that some of the strongest love stories begin quietly. They don't need dramatic beginnings because they're built on genuine understanding instead of temporary excitement. If you're already sharing your life with someone, this month brings emotional harmony that strengthens every part of your relationship. Any misunderstandings that may have developed recently begin disappearing as communication becomes much more open and honest. Instead of avoiding difficult conversations, both of you become more willing to express your true feelings with kindness and patience. You'll notice that your partner begins understanding you on a much deeper level, and you'll discover new appreciation for everything the two of you have already overcome together. Romance naturally returns throughout July. Small gestures become incredibly meaningful. Unexpected compliments, affectionate messages, surprise dates, shared laughter, and simple moments spent together without distractions remind both of you that love doesn't require grand performances to remain exciting. Sometimes the strongest intimacy grows during quiet evenings where both people simply enjoy each other's presence. You'll begin realizing that emotional security is one of the most romantic feelings in the world. Some Libra natives may also find themselves discussing important future decisions with their partner. Conversations about living together, marriage, children, travel, or long-term dreams begin flowing naturally. Rather than creating pressure, these discussions create excitement because both of you start recognizing that you're building something capable of lasting for many years. This month encourages both hearts to stop fearing commitment and start embracing the beautiful possibilities that genuine partnership can create. If your heart is still healing from a previous relationship, July gently helps you close that chapter without bitterness. You may briefly revisit memories that once brought sadness, but something inside you has changed. You no longer see those experiences as failures. You see them as lessons. Every disappointment taught you what kind of love you truly deserve. Every goodbye prepared your heart for someone who will appreciate your kindness instead of taking it for granted. That realization becomes one of the greatest emotional victories you've experienced in a long time. Around the middle of July, your natural charm becomes impossible for others to ignore. People are drawn toward your warmth, your ability to listen, your peaceful energy, and your beautiful way of making others feel comfortable. Someone may quietly begin developing feelings for you while you're completely focused on enjoying your own life. Don't underestimate quiet admiration. Sometimes the deepest feelings grow silently before they finally find the courage to reveal themselves. One important lesson repeats itself throughout this month. Stop trying to fix people who have no desire to grow. You've often believed that enough patience and understanding could change someone's behavior. July reminds you that love isn't about changing another person. It's about finding someone whose values already align with yours. Healthy relationships don't require endless sacrifice from only one side. They grow because both people choose each other equally. Trust also becomes an incredibly important theme during July. If someone consistently shows you through their actions that they value you, allow yourself to believe them. Don't let old disappointments convince you that everyone will eventually leave. The person entering your life now, or the partner already standing beside you, isn't responsible for mistakes made by someone else in your past. Give new love the opportunity to become something completely different. Toward the final weeks of July, you'll notice yourself feeling lighter than you have in months. Emotional pressure disappears. Your smile becomes more natural. You stop worrying about whether you're enough because deep inside, you finally understand that the right person will never make you question your worth. They'll celebrate your kindness, admire your intelligence, respect your opinions, and encourage your dreams instead of feeling threatened by them. If someone from your past unexpectedly reaches out before the month ends, pause before responding. Ask yourself one honest question. Are you missing the person? Or are you simply missing the idea of what you hoped the relationship could have become? Your answer will reveal everything you need to know. July encourages you to move toward your future rather than revisiting emotional chapters that have already taught you every lesson they were meant to teach. As the month comes to a close, your understanding of love becomes beautifully different. You stop believing that relationships must involve constant emotional ups and downs to be meaningful. Instead, you begin appreciating consistency, loyalty, emotional maturity, and genuine friendship. Those qualities become far more attractive than temporary excitement because you finally understand that lasting happiness is built through stability rather than unpredictability. The universe has been quietly preparing this chapter for your heart for much longer than you realize. Every challenge you've faced has helped you recognize the difference between attention and genuine affection, between attraction and compatibility, between temporary excitement and lasting love. Continue believing that the relationship you've always dreamed about is still possible. Continue choosing peace over emotional chaos. Continue trusting your heart, because your intuition has become stronger than ever. Libra, July is not simply another month in your love story. It is the beginning of a season where your heart finally stops chasing what isn't meant for you and starts attracting the kind of love that feels effortless, honest, and beautifully balanced. The future you've been quietly hoping for is already moving toward you, and with every passing day, your heart becomes more ready to receive it than ever before. Dear Scorpio, July arrives carrying an intensity that feels both familiar and completely new. As one of the most passionate signs of the Zodiac, you've never believed in shallow emotions or temporary connections. You have always wanted something deeper than ordinary romance. You don't simply fall in love with someone's smile or their words. You fall in love with their soul, with the way they make you feel when the rest of the world becomes quiet. Unfortunately, not everyone has been capable of meeting you at that emotional depth. Some people admired your passion but were afraid of your honesty. Others wanted your loyalty without offering the same commitment in return. Those experiences may have left invisible scars, making it difficult to trust completely again. But July arrives with a different purpose. This month isn't asking you to relive old pain. It's inviting you to experience love without carrying yesterday's fears into tomorrow's possibilities. As the month begins, you may feel unusually reflective. Certain memories could return without warning. You might think about conversations that ended too soon, promises that were never fulfilled, or someone you once believed would remain part of your future forever. For a brief moment, your heart may revisit those emotions, but something has changed inside you. Instead of asking why everything happened, you begin understanding that every ending protected you from a future that wasn't meant for you. The people who walked away didn't take your ability to love with them. They simply made room for someone who will appreciate it far more deeply. During the first part of July, your intuition becomes incredibly powerful. You'll sense people's intentions long before they reveal them through words. Trust those feelings. If someone makes you feel calm, respected, and emotionally safe, allow yourself to explore that connection. If someone creates confusion, inconsistency, or emotional uncertainty, don't ignore the warning signs simply because attraction exists. This month reminds you that chemistry alone is never enough to build a lasting relationship. True love also requires trust, respect, emotional maturity, and the willingness to choose each other every single day. If you're single, July may become one of the most meaningful romantic periods you've experienced in a long time. Someone could unexpectedly enter your life in a way that feels almost destined. It may happen through work, while traveling, during a social gathering, through mutual friends, or even through a conversation that begins completely by accident. At first, you may try convincing yourself not to become emotionally invested too quickly. You've learned from experience that protecting your heart sometimes feels easier than risking disappointment. Yet this connection feels different. There is no need to pretend, no need to impress, no need to hide who you truly are. You'll notice how naturally conversation flows and how comfortable silence becomes. Instead of exhausting your emotions, this person quietly restores your faith in love. They may also possess qualities you've secretly hoped to find for a long time. Emotional stability, kindness, patience. Someone who listens carefully instead of simply waiting for their turn to speak. You'll quickly realize that genuine love doesn't always arrive with dramatic fireworks. Sometimes it arrives quietly, bringing peace instead of emotional chaos. Don't mistake calmness for lack of passion. The strongest relationships often begin with friendship, trust, and mutual admiration before passion naturally grows into something extraordinary. If you're already sharing your life with someone, July becomes a beautiful month of emotional renewal. Recent responsibilities may have pulled both of you in different directions. Work, family obligations, or everyday stress may have created small emotional distances without either of you intending for that to happen. This month gently brings your hearts back together. Honest conversations become easier. Small misunderstandings disappear before becoming larger problems. You'll both begin remembering why you chose each other in the first place. Romance quietly returns throughout the month. You may find yourselves spending more quality time together, laughing more often, planning future adventures, or simply appreciating each other's company without distractions. The emotional bond between you grows stronger because both of you become more willing to express vulnerable feelings that may have remained hidden recently. Instead of trying to appear strong all the time, you'll discover that true intimacy grows when both people feel safe enough to reveal their fears, dreams, and deepest emotions. Some Scorpio natives may find themselves discussing important future decisions with their partner during July. Marriage, moving in together, expanding your family, or building long-term financial and personal goals may naturally become part of your conversations. Rather than creating pressure, these discussions strengthen your relationship because they reveal how closely your visions for the future align. You'll feel increasingly certain that you're building something capable of lasting far beyond temporary excitement. For those still healing from heartbreak, July becomes the month where emotional closure finally begins arriving. You may realize that you've spent too much time carrying guilt for things that were never entirely your responsibility. Love cannot survive if only one person continues fighting for it. This month reminds you that someone else's inability to appreciate your loyalty does not reduce your value. In fact, your ability to love deeply remains one of your greatest strengths. The right person won't be intimidated by your emotional depth. They'll consider it one of the greatest blessings of their life. Around the middle of July, someone may unexpectedly reveal feelings they've quietly been hiding. This confession could surprise you because you never realized how much they admired you. Before making any immediate decisions, allow yourself to experience the connection naturally. Not every relationship needs to move quickly. In fact, July strongly favors slow emotional growth. Trust develops one conversation at a time, one shared experience at a time, one honest moment at a time. One of the most important lessons this month teaches you is to stop confusing mystery with compatibility. In the past, you may have been attracted to people who were emotionally unavailable simply because their uncertainty felt exciting. July helps you recognize that emotional consistency is far more attractive than unpredictability. Real love shouldn't constantly leave you wondering where you stand. It should create a sense of security that allows both hearts to grow freely. Someone from your past may briefly reappear before the month ends. Whether through a message, an unexpected meeting, or simple curiosity, they may attempt to reopen communication. Before allowing old emotions to guide your decisions, ask yourself whether returning to that chapter truly serves the future you're trying to build. Sometimes closure isn't found by reopening old doors. Sometimes closure is found by realizing you've already outgrown the room behind them. As the final weeks of July unfold, you'll notice yourself becoming much more emotionally confident. You stop seeking reassurance because you've finally begun trusting your own worth. That quiet confidence changes the way people see you. Without trying to attract attention, you naturally become magnetic because you're no longer searching for someone to complete you. Instead, you're looking for someone willing to walk beside you as an equal. If you're beginning a new relationship, the final days of the month bring increasing trust and emotional intimacy. Every conversation deepens your connection. Every shared moment strengthens your belief that this relationship could become something truly extraordinary. If you're already committed, July closes with renewed passion, stronger friendship, and greater appreciation for everything you've built together. Both of you begin recognizing that the strongest love stories aren't perfect. They're built by two people who continue choosing each other despite life's inevitable challenges. As this remarkable month comes to an end, you'll realize that love has begun feeling different. It no longer feels like something you must chase or fight to keep. Instead, it begins feeling like a peaceful place where your heart can finally rest. You've learned that vulnerability isn't weakness. Trust isn't foolishness. Loving deeply isn't something to apologize for. Those qualities make you exactly who you are, and one day someone will look at those very qualities and realize they've found the person they've been searching for all along. Scorpio, the universe has never forgotten the love you've dreamed about. Every difficult lesson, every painful goodbye, every lonely night has quietly prepared your heart for something much healthier than anything you've experienced before. Continue trusting your intuition. Continue protecting your peace. Continue believing that genuine love still exists. Because this July, your heart isn't simply healing from the past. It is opening the door to a future where love finally feels safe, mutual, passionate, and lasting. And that future is much closer than you think. Dear Sagittarius, July arrives like the beginning of an exciting new journey for your heart. You are a person who naturally believes in possibilities. Even after disappointment, even after heartbreak, there is always a part of you that continues believing that somewhere, somehow, the right person exists. Yet over the past several months, that optimism may have become quieter. Perhaps someone disappointed you. Perhaps someone made promises they never intended to keep. Or maybe life simply became so busy that love slowly moved into the background while you focused on everything else. Whatever your story has been, July brings an entirely different emotional atmosphere. This month doesn't ask you to chase love. Instead, it quietly places love in your path while encouraging you to simply remain open to whatever beautiful surprises the universe has prepared. The beginning of July feels refreshing because your emotional energy becomes lighter. You'll notice yourself smiling more easily, laughing more often, and feeling far less burdened by old memories. Situations that once seemed impossible to forget slowly lose their emotional weight. You begin realizing that every relationship you've experienced has taught you something valuable about yourself. Some taught you patience. Others taught you boundaries. A few taught you what real love should never feel like. Instead of regretting those experiences, you'll finally begin appreciating the wisdom they left behind. One of the greatest changes happening inside your heart this month is your willingness to stop settling for half-hearted love. In the past, you may have accepted uncertainty simply because you hoped things would eventually improve. You gave people more chances than they deserved because you always believed there was something good hidden beneath their mistakes. While your optimism is one of your greatest qualities, July reminds you that love should never require endless waiting or constant guessing. Someone who genuinely wants to be part of your life will never make you question whether you matter. If you're single, this month opens exciting new possibilities that could completely change your emotional future. Someone may unexpectedly appear when you least expect it. It might happen while traveling, attending an event, beginning a new project, or even through someone you've known casually for quite some time. At first, the connection feels effortless. Conversation flows naturally. You don't feel the need to impress them because they already seem interested in the real version of you. They laugh at your jokes, admire your adventurous spirit, and genuinely enjoy listening to your dreams about the future. That emotional comfort quickly becomes one of the strongest foundations for something much deeper. Unlike relationships you've experienced before, this connection develops without unnecessary pressure. There are no confusing signals, no emotional games, and no constant uncertainty. Instead, you'll notice consistency. Messages arrive when they say they will. Plans don't constantly change. Their actions quietly confirm everything their words promise. That sense of reliability becomes incredibly attractive because, deep inside, you've grown tired of relationships that required constant emotional effort just to survive. July also encourages you to become more honest about what you truly want. For a long time, you may have convinced yourself that freedom meant avoiding commitment. But the truth is far more beautiful. What you've really been searching for isn't freedom from love. It's freedom to love someone without losing yourself in the process. This month teaches you that genuine relationships don't take away your independence. They support your growth while allowing both people to continue becoming the best versions of themselves. If you're already in a relationship, July becomes one of the happiest emotional periods you've shared together in recent months. You and your partner begin rediscovering the excitement that first brought you together. Daily responsibilities gradually become less overwhelming because both of you make a conscious effort to create meaningful moments together. Weekend adventures, spontaneous dates, long conversations under the stars, or simply laughing together over ordinary moments help strengthen your emotional connection in ways you didn't expect. Communication also improves dramatically. If there have been misunderstandings recently, both of you become much more willing to speak honestly instead of making assumptions. You'll discover that many problems disappear once both people feel safe enough to express what they've truly been feeling. Rather than arguing about the past, you'll naturally begin focusing on the future. Plans for travel, moving forward together, building shared dreams, or creating exciting new memories begin replacing old frustrations. For Sagittarius natives still carrying emotional pain from a previous relationship, July becomes a powerful month of release. Someone who once occupied your thoughts may briefly return through memories or unexpected contact. Instead of immediately reopening old emotions, you'll find yourself asking a different question than before. Rather than wondering whether they still care about you, you'll ask whether they ever truly appreciated the incredible person you already were. That shift changes everything. Your happiness no longer depends on receiving answers from someone who couldn't give you the future you deserved. Instead, you begin recognizing that the greatest form of closure often comes from moving forward without resentment. Around the middle of July, your natural confidence begins attracting attention everywhere you go. People admire your positive energy, your adventurous personality, and your ability to make every conversation feel exciting. Someone may quietly develop feelings for you while pretending to simply enjoy your friendship. Pay attention to the little things. Who consistently makes time for you? Who remembers the stories you tell? Who becomes genuinely excited when something wonderful happens in your life? Real affection often reveals itself through quiet consistency rather than dramatic declarations. One important lesson repeats itself throughout July. Don't mistake excitement for compatibility. It's easy to become attracted to people who bring temporary adrenaline into your life, but lasting happiness comes from emotional safety, mutual respect, and shared values. The universe encourages you to look beyond chemistry alone. Ask yourself whether this person brings peace into your life. Do they encourage your dreams? Do they celebrate your success? Do they make your future feel brighter simply by standing beside you? Those answers matter far more than temporary excitement. Someone from your past may also attempt to reconnect before the month ends. They could suddenly realize what they lost or simply feel curious about how you're doing. Before responding, pause and remember everything you've learned. The person you've become today deserves relationships built on honesty, not uncertainty. Don't allow loneliness or nostalgia to convince you that unfinished chapters automatically deserve another beginning. Sometimes moving forward is the greatest act of self-love. As July enters its final weeks, you'll notice something remarkable happening inside your heart. You stop fearing commitment because you've finally realized that the right relationship doesn't limit your freedom. Instead, it gives you the confidence to dream even bigger. Love no longer feels like something that might hold you back. It begins feeling like someone standing beside you while encouraging every adventure your heart wants to pursue. If you're beginning a new relationship, the final days of the month bring growing trust and emotional closeness. Every conversation strengthens your connection. Every shared experience makes the future feel more exciting. If you're already committed, July closes with renewed passion, stronger friendship, and a deeper appreciation for everything you've created together. You'll both realize that your greatest adventures aren't necessarily waiting somewhere far away. Sometimes the greatest adventure is simply continuing to choose each other every single day. As this beautiful month comes to an end, you'll understand that love has never been about losing your freedom. It's about finding someone who celebrates it, someone who encourages your dreams instead of fearing them, someone who laughs beside you, supports you through difficult moments, and reminds you that life's greatest journeys become even more meaningful when shared with the right person. Sagittarius, the universe has spent a long time preparing your heart for this chapter. Every lesson, every goodbye, every unexpected turn has quietly guided you toward a healthier understanding of love. Continue believing in new beginnings. Continue trusting your instincts. Continue refusing to settle for relationships that make you feel small. Because July isn't simply another month in your love story. It's the beginning of a future where love feels exciting without being exhausting, passionate without being chaotic, and lasting without asking you to become anyone other than the incredible person you've always been. Dear Capricorn, July arrives with a quiet but powerful transformation in your emotional life. Unlike the dramatic changes some people experience, your heart evolves gradually, one realization at a time. You have always approached love differently from most people. While others often fall in love quickly, you take your time. You observe. You listen. You build trust carefully because you understand that real relationships are not created overnight. You have never been interested in temporary excitement or empty promises. You've always wanted something lasting, someone you could build a future with. Over the past several months, however, you may have questioned whether that kind of love still exists. Perhaps someone disappointed you. Perhaps life became so demanding that your personal happiness quietly moved into the background. Whatever the reason, July begins reminding you that your heart hasn't been forgotten by the universe. In fact, everything you've experienced has quietly prepared you for a much healthier and more fulfilling chapter. As the month begins, you'll notice yourself thinking less about what you've lost and more about what you still have the opportunity to create. This emotional shift feels incredibly freeing. Instead of carrying old disappointments like heavy luggage, you begin leaving them behind one memory at a time. You'll understand that every relationship which ended wasn't necessarily a failure. Some people entered your life simply to help you become stronger, wiser, and more aware of what genuine love should actually feel like. Those lessons were never meant to make your heart harder. They were meant to help you recognize the right person when they finally arrive. One of the strongest themes throughout July is emotional confidence. You stop questioning your value. You stop wondering whether you were somehow not enough for someone who couldn't appreciate your loyalty. The truth slowly becomes obvious. You were never asking for too much. You were simply asking the wrong people. That realization changes everything because it allows you to approach new relationships without carrying unnecessary guilt from the past. If you're single, July quietly opens the door to an incredibly meaningful romantic connection. Unlike dramatic love stories filled with uncertainty, this relationship begins through trust, respect, and genuine friendship. You may meet someone through work, professional networking, education, family connections, or even through an ordinary conversation that unexpectedly becomes much more important than either of you imagined. First, neither of you may rush into romance. Instead, you'll simply enjoy spending time together. You'll notice how naturally conversation flows, how easy it feels to laugh together, and how comfortable silence becomes. Those quiet moments create the strongest emotional foundation because they're built on authenticity rather than performance. The person entering your life may possess qualities you've secretly admired for years: emotional maturity, patience, honesty, reliability, someone who keeps their promises without constantly needing recognition for doing so. As someone who values stability above temporary excitement, you'll quickly recognize just how rare this kind of person truly is. Don't allow fear from previous experiences to prevent you from exploring this beautiful possibility. July reminds you that not everyone who enters your life intends to hurt you. Some people arrive simply to love you the way you've always deserved. If you're already sharing your life with someone, this month brings remarkable emotional growth. Recent responsibilities may have left both of you feeling emotionally exhausted. Careers, financial responsibilities, family obligations, and daily routines may have quietly replaced romance without either of you realizing it. July gently shifts your attention back toward one another. You'll naturally begin making time for meaningful conversations instead of discussing only practical matters. Long walks, shared meals, quiet evenings together, and future planning help restore the emotional closeness you've both been missing. Trust deepens throughout the month. If misunderstandings have existed recently, honest conversations begin resolving them one by one. You'll notice that both of you become much better at listening rather than immediately defending your own perspective. This emotional maturity strengthens your relationship far beyond what either of you expected. Some couples may begin discussing major life decisions such as marriage, purchasing a home, expanding the family, or making important long-term financial plans together. Instead of creating fear, these conversations bring excitement because they reveal just how committed both of you truly are. For Capricorn natives still healing from a previous relationship, July becomes one of the most important months of emotional closure. You may unexpectedly think about someone who once occupied a large part of your heart. Old memories could briefly return, but this time they no longer carry the same emotional weight. Instead of wishing things had turned out differently, you'll begin appreciating how much stronger you've become because of everything you survived. You'll realize that your greatest strength has never been your ability to avoid heartbreak. It's been your ability to continue believing in love despite experiencing disappointment. Around the middle of July, someone may quietly begin showing deeper interest in you. At first, you may assume they're simply being kind because that's how cautious your heart has become. But as the days pass, their consistency becomes impossible to ignore. They remember the little things. They ask about your day. They support your ambitions. They celebrate your achievements without jealousy. Slowly, you begin understanding that genuine affection isn't always loud. Sometimes it reveals itself through countless small actions repeated every single day. One important lesson the universe keeps repeating throughout July is this: stop believing that love must always be difficult to be meaningful. In the past, you may have confused emotional struggle with emotional depth. You may have believed that sacrificing your own happiness was simply part of loving someone. July gently corrects that belief. Healthy love should never constantly leave you exhausted. Instead, it should make you feel stronger, calmer, and more hopeful about the future. Someone from your past may unexpectedly attempt to reconnect before the month ends. Whether through a message, an unexpected meeting, or simple curiosity, they may suddenly wonder whether another chance is possible. Before responding emotionally, pause and ask yourself one honest question. Does this person truly belong in the future you've been working so hard to build? Or are they simply part of a chapter you've already outgrown? Your intuition knows the answer long before your emotions do. Trust it. As the final weeks of July arrive, you'll notice something beautiful happening inside your heart. You're no longer afraid of commitment because you've finally realized that the right relationship won't slow your progress. It will support it. The right person won't compete with your ambitions. They'll encourage them. They'll become your biggest supporter, your safest place, and your closest friend all at once. That understanding completely changes the way you approach love moving forward. If you're beginning a new relationship, the final days of July bring increasing trust and emotional closeness. Every conversation feels more meaningful. Every shared experience strengthens the connection. Instead of rushing toward the future, both of you naturally allow the relationship to develop at its own healthy pace. If you're already committed, this month closes with renewed appreciation for everything you've built together. Both of you begin recognizing that your relationship has become one of the strongest parts of your lives because it has been built on honesty rather than illusion. As July comes to an end, you'll realize that your heart has quietly become much lighter. You've stopped carrying responsibilities that never belonged to you. You've stopped blaming yourself for someone else's inability to love you correctly. Most importantly, you've remembered that your loyalty, patience, and dedication are not weaknesses. They're extraordinary gifts that the right person will treasure every single day. Capricorn, the universe has spent a long time preparing your heart for this chapter. Every obstacle you've overcome has quietly shaped the person you're becoming today. Continue believing in lasting love. Continue trusting your instincts. Continue refusing to settle for relationships that ask you to sacrifice your peace. Because this July isn't simply another month in your romantic journey. It's the beginning of a season where love finally begins feeling exactly the way you've always hoped it would. Steady, honest, secure, deeply committed, and capable of lasting for a lifetime. Dear Aquarius, July arrives with a refreshing emotional energy that feels as though the universe is opening a brand new chapter for your heart. Over the past several months, you've likely spent a great deal of time thinking about where your life is heading and whether the relationships around you truly reflect the future you want to build. As someone who values both independence and deep emotional connection, you've often found yourself caught between two worlds. Part of you longs for a meaningful relationship built on trust and loyalty, while another part fears losing your freedom or becoming trapped in something that no longer allows you to grow. July gently shows you that real love never asks you to give up who you are. Instead, it encourages you to become even more of the person you were always meant to be. As the month begins, you'll notice an unexpected sense of emotional clarity. Situations that once felt confusing suddenly become much easier to understand. You'll recognize which people genuinely support your happiness and which ones only appeared when it benefited them. Rather than feeling disappointed by these realizations, you'll feel relieved. It's almost as though your heart finally decides to stop holding on to relationships that no longer belong in your future. This emotional freedom creates space for something much more meaningful to enter your life. If you're single, July could become one of the most exciting romantic months you've experienced in a very long time. The universe seems determined to introduce you to someone who appreciates your uniqueness instead of trying to change it. This connection may begin completely unexpectedly. Perhaps you'll meet through mutual friends, during travel, while working on a new project, through social media, or even during a conversation that initially seems ordinary. What immediately stands out about this person isn't simply physical attraction. It's the feeling that they truly understand you. They won't judge your unusual ideas, your dreams, or the way your mind constantly searches for new possibilities. Instead, they'll encourage every part of your personality, making you feel accepted in a way you've rarely experienced before. The relationship develops naturally because neither of you feels the need to pretend. You'll laugh together effortlessly. Conversations may continue late into the night without either of you noticing how much time has passed. You'll discover shared interests, similar values, and a mutual respect that makes emotional closeness feel incredibly easy. Rather than feeling like someone is trying to control your life, you'll feel inspired to share it with them. That difference becomes one of the greatest surprises July has to offer. For those already in a relationship, this month brings renewed excitement and emotional growth. Over recent months, both of you may have become so focused on work, responsibilities, or personal goals that romance quietly moved into the background. July changes that completely. You'll naturally begin spending more quality time together. Simple experiences become unforgettable. A spontaneous road trip, a long evening walk, cooking together, watching the sunset, or simply talking honestly about your dreams helps rebuild emotional intimacy in ways neither of you expected. Communication becomes one of your greatest strengths this month. If certain topics have remained unspoken, you'll finally feel comfortable discussing them openly. Rather than fearing conflict, both of you become more interested in understanding one another. This shift allows old misunderstandings to disappear naturally. You'll realize that your relationship becomes much stronger when honesty replaces assumptions. Some Aquarius couples may also begin discussing major future decisions during July. Marriage, living together, moving to a new city, starting a family, or creating shared financial goals may suddenly become realistic possibilities. Instead of feeling pressured, you'll feel excited because you'll recognize that true commitment doesn't limit your future. It expands it. The right relationship allows both people to grow individually while building something extraordinary together. If you've recently experienced heartbreak, July offers powerful emotional healing. You may briefly think about someone who once played an important role in your life. At first, the memories may feel emotional, but you'll quickly notice that something has changed. You're no longer wishing for the past to return. Instead, you're grateful that it ended because you finally understand how much you've grown since then. Every disappointment taught you to value yourself more. Every goodbye guided you closer to the kind of relationship you've always deserved. Around the middle of the month, someone may quietly reveal feelings they've been hiding for quite some time. This confession could completely surprise you because you've always viewed them as simply a friend or acquaintance. Before immediately deciding how you feel, allow yourself time to experience the connection naturally. Sometimes the strongest relationships begin with trust long before romance appears. The universe reminds you not to overlook someone simply because they didn't arrive with dramatic excitement. Lasting love often grows quietly before revealing just how meaningful it can become. One of the greatest lessons July teaches you is that emotional vulnerability is not weakness. You've often protected your heart by appearing emotionally independent, convincing yourself that you don't need anyone. While your independence is one of your greatest strengths, this month gently reminds you that allowing someone to love you doesn't make you less powerful. It simply means you've found someone worthy of your trust. Real strength isn't avoiding emotional risk. It's having the courage to love despite everything life has taught you. Someone from your past may unexpectedly reach out before the month ends. They could suddenly realize what they lost or become curious about how your life has changed. Before responding emotionally, ask yourself whether this person truly belongs in the future you've been building. Sometimes people return because they've grown. Other times they return because they're lonely. Your intuition becomes remarkably accurate throughout July, and it will immediately reveal the difference. Trust it without hesitation. As the final weeks of the month unfold, your confidence reaches an entirely new level. You stop worrying about whether someone will choose you because you finally understand that your value has never depended on another person's opinion. That quiet confidence naturally attracts healthier relationships because you're no longer willing to settle for emotional inconsistency. You begin recognizing that real love feels peaceful rather than confusing. It creates emotional safety instead of emotional exhaustion. If you're beginning a new relationship, the final days of July bring growing trust, deeper conversations, and increasing emotional closeness. Every shared experience strengthens the bond between you. If you're already committed, the month closes with renewed appreciation for everything you've created together. You'll both recognize that your relationship has evolved into something much deeper than simple romance. It has become a true partnership built on friendship, respect, and shared dreams. As July comes to an end, you'll realize that your greatest transformation wasn't meeting someone new. It was remembering your own worth. You've stopped believing that you must change yourself to deserve love. You've stopped chasing people who couldn't recognize your value. Instead, you've begun attracting those who celebrate everything that makes you different. Aquarius, the universe has been quietly preparing your heart for this chapter through every lesson, every challenge, and every unexpected change you've experienced. Continue believing in authentic love. Continue trusting your instincts. Continue protecting your individuality because the person meant for you will never ask you to become someone else. They'll admire your independence, encourage your dreams, support your ambitions, and love every unique part of who you are. This July marks the beginning of a beautiful emotional season where love no longer feels like something that competes with your freedom. Instead, it becomes the very thing that helps your spirit soar even higher. Your future is filled with possibilities, and your heart is finally ready to welcome the kind of love that grows stronger with every passing day. Dear Pisces, July arrives like a gentle wave washing away the emotional weight you've been carrying for far too long. Your heart has always been one of the most compassionate in the Zodiac. You love with incredible depth, incredible loyalty, and an almost magical ability to see beauty in people even when they cannot see it in themselves. That gift makes you extraordinary, but it has also caused you pain. There have been moments when you gave far more than you received. Times when you believed love alone could heal someone who wasn't ready to heal themselves. Moments when you stayed longer than you should have because you believed things would eventually change. July marks the end of that emotional chapter. This month isn't about proving your love to anyone. It's about finally receiving the kind of love you've always been willing to give. As the first days of July unfold, you'll notice your emotions becoming much clearer. For months, perhaps even years, you've questioned certain decisions, wondering whether you should have fought harder for someone or walked away sooner. Those questions begin disappearing because something beautiful happens inside your heart. Acceptance replaces regret. You stop wishing the past had been different and begin appreciating everything it taught you. Without those experiences, you might never have discovered how strong you truly are. Every tear, every goodbye, and every lesson quietly prepared you for the extraordinary love that is slowly finding its way toward you. One of the most important themes throughout July is emotional renewal. The universe gently reminds you that your heart was never meant to remain trapped inside old memories. You were created to dream, to love, and to believe in beautiful possibilities. That hopeful spirit begins returning this month. You'll notice yourself smiling more often. Music feels more meaningful. Conversations become more enjoyable. Life slowly regains the warmth that may have seemed missing for a while. This emotional transformation becomes incredibly attractive because people naturally gravitate towards someone whose heart shines from within. If you're single, July could become one of the most unforgettable months of the entire year. Someone may unexpectedly enter your life when you least expect it. It could happen while traveling, through work, during a family gathering, while pursuing a hobby, or even through a simple conversation that begins without any romantic expectations. What immediately captures your attention isn't simply their appearance. It's the way they make you feel. Around them, you don't feel judged. You don't feel pressured to become someone else. Instead, you feel completely accepted. That emotional safety becomes one of the strongest signs that this connection carries genuine long-term potential. This person may be calmer than the people you've been attracted to in the past. They won't overwhelm you with dramatic promises or emotional uncertainty. Instead, they'll quietly show you through their actions that they genuinely care. They'll remember small details about your life. They'll ask how you're feeling. They'll notice when something is bothering you before you even mention it. Their kindness won't feel forced. It will simply become part of who they are. Slowly, you'll begin realizing that this is the kind of relationship you've secretly hoped to experience all along. If you're already in a relationship, July becomes a deeply healing month for both of you. Any emotional distance that may have developed over recent months begins fading away. Daily responsibilities, stress, or outside pressures may have distracted both of you from nurturing your connection. But this month gently brings your hearts back together. Conversations become more open. Affection becomes more natural. You'll find yourselves laughing together again, dreaming together again, and remembering why your relationship became so important in the first place. Romance quietly returns through life's simplest moments. Holding hands during an evening walk, preparing meals together, watching the stars, planning future adventures, or simply sitting together in peaceful silence becomes far more meaningful than expensive gifts or dramatic surprises. You'll realize that true intimacy isn't built through extraordinary events. It's built through countless ordinary moments shared with extraordinary love. Some Pisces natives may also begin discussing major future decisions with their partner. Marriage, moving in together, building a family, traveling, or creating long-term financial goals may naturally become part of your conversations. Rather than feeling overwhelmed, you'll feel comforted because you'll recognize that your dreams are finally becoming shared dreams instead of private wishes. For those still healing from heartbreak, July becomes one of the most emotionally freeing months you've experienced in years. You may briefly think about someone from your past, but instead of feeling sadness, you'll notice gratitude. Strange as it may seem, you'll realize that losing the wrong person created space for the right one to eventually arrive. You'll stop asking why certain relationships ended because you'll finally understand that the universe wasn't punishing you. It was protecting you from futures that could never have made you truly happy. Around the middle of July, your intuition reaches remarkable levels. You'll instinctively recognize who deserves your trust and who doesn't. Listen carefully to that inner voice. It has always been one of your greatest strengths. If someone consistently makes you feel peaceful, valued, and emotionally secure, allow yourself to explore that connection. If someone repeatedly creates confusion or emotional exhaustion, don't ignore the warning signs. Love should never require constant suffering to prove its value. Someone from your past may unexpectedly attempt to reconnect before the month ends. Their return could awaken old memories and unresolved emotions. Before allowing nostalgia to guide your decisions, ask yourself one honest question. Does this person truly belong in the future you've been dreaming about? Or are they simply part of a chapter you've already outgrown? Your heart already knows the answer. Trust it without hesitation. The future waiting for you deserves your full attention, not half of your heart still looking backward. As the final weeks of July unfold, you'll notice something extraordinary happening within yourself. You stop believing that love must always involve sacrifice. You've often been willing to carry emotional burdens that never belonged to you simply because you wanted everyone around you to be happy. This month teaches you something life-changing. You are not responsible for saving everyone else. Sometimes the greatest act of love is choosing your own peace first. The healthier your own heart becomes, the healthier every future relationship will naturally become as well. If you're beginning a new relationship, the final days of the month bring growing trust, emotional intimacy, and a wonderful sense of stability. Every conversation feels meaningful. Every shared experience deepens your connection. There is no need to rush because both of you naturally understand that something truly beautiful is worth building patiently. If you're already committed, July closes with renewed appreciation for everything you've created together. You'll both recognize how much stronger your relationship has become because you've learned to face life's challenges side by side instead of alone. One of the greatest lessons July leaves with you is this: you no longer need to chase love. The love meant for you will recognize your heart without asking you to change who you are. It will celebrate your kindness instead of taking advantage of it. It will protect your sensitivity instead of seeing it as weakness. It will encourage your dreams instead of making you question them. As this remarkable month comes to an end, you'll realize that your heart has quietly become stronger than ever before. Not because you've stopped believing in love, but because you've finally started believing you deserve the very best version of it. You've stopped settling for uncertainty. You've stopped accepting emotional inconsistency. You've remembered that your gentle heart is one of your greatest gifts, not something that needs to be hidden or protected from the world forever. Pisces, the universe has been preparing this chapter through every lesson you've survived, every disappointment you've overcome, and every dream you've refused to abandon. Continue trusting your intuition. Continue believing in meaningful connections. Continue opening your heart carefully but without fear. Because this July is not simply another month in your romantic journey. It is the beginning of a beautiful new season where love finally begins flowing toward you with the same honesty, loyalty, compassion, and depth that you've spent your entire life giving to others. The relationship you've always dreamed about is no longer just a distant hope. With every passing day, it is becoming a beautiful reality waiting just ahead.